A row of old pews, beautifully carved and glowing with polish. I thought of all the people who must have sat here over the decades. All those Parisian derrieres, firm buttocks of the young ladies, the flabby flesh of the old men. That wasn't a pleasing image, so I went back to the young ladies. Whoa! I didn't have time to sit around. A knight's tomb, his effigy in marble lying in perpetual state, waiting in prayer for the judgment day. A knight there in the company of his fellows. Biblical references engraved into the tomb edge to guide his way to the next world, I guess. Just think, there's a dead guy under there. A stone knight lay on the church floor. The second stone knight in a row of 4 lay on the church floor. I was surprised Philip le Bel had left this place alone. A statue of a knight holding a staff and a scroll. Per disciplinum meum lux videbis. A bit of a stained glass window. Wow! Hoping for a big insight while squinting through a hunk of statuary had been pretty optimistic, I guess. On the end of the staff was some kind of disc with a cross on it. Around the base of the disc was a hairline crack. Well, I could have just taken the end off the staff, but I wanted to be sure what I'd be getting out of vandalizing a church, other than deported. Per disciplinum meum lux videbis. A bit of a stained glass window. Wow! Hoping for a big insight while squinting through a hunk of statuary had been pretty optimistic, I guess. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard work. A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. I wondered if this guy had died in combat. The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. I couldn't open it with my bare hands.
Hey, hey you! What do you think you're doing? Leave that comer alone, now.
Sorry, no harm intended.
You stay away from that.
I had no desire to... An architectural echo of the gallows that once used to stand here. Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
What do you think of the juggler?
Ah, he is excellent, most watchable.
But he's blocking the thoroughfare and obstructing traffic.
He is amusing, the traffic isn't. If he wants to block it, who am I to say no?
You're a cop.
Ah, oui. So I am. Ah, well,
So you're not gonna do anything about this guy.
no.
He probably doesn't even have a license.
Ah, a license. This I had not considered.
So what are you gonna do?
The instant I return to the station, I shall check.
Return to the station? Why not just ask him?
And spoil his concentration? What kind of a barbarian do you take me for?
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
What do you know about medieval ironmongery? Have a look at this little baby.
A tripod. What is it for?
You mean you don't know?
No, monsieur. Nor do you, I think.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No! That would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
A typically Parisian sidewalk cafe. Last time I visited one of those, it blew up. I decided I was happy enough right where I was. Excuse me.
Stobart! I did not expect to see you so soon after that unfortunate business at the museum.
Inspector Rosso was completely satisfied with my explanation.
Ah, yes. You were accidentally trapped in an Egyptian sarcophagus.
It could happen to anyone.
Indeed, as could being knocked unconscious by a wooden salmon. What do you want now?
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin, Sergeant?
What was that?
The cult of the assassins.
What are you trying to say, Stobart?
That the clown is a member of that cult.
I see. And what proofs do you have?
Proof? I arrived at my conclusion through logical deduction, and
Pseudo-intellectual people. Leave the investigation of crime to those who know best. The police.
is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. What now, monsieur?
Why do you get so wound up about the Knights Templar? They've been dead for centuries. I shouldn't have pushed my luck. Maybe his ancestors were Templars. Whatever. I saw the anger flare in his eyes like a distant summer thunderstorm.
The Templars were the first true internationalists. 800 years on, and still the world is fragmented by nationalistic flag-waving fools. You will excuse me.
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing. And not a humiliation for you.
What do you mean?
Who ever heard of a plainclothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy. But if I juggle badly without it...
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you have it.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
No.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
No.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No. I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change. There was no need to take the wine glass. It was the bright red ball I'd got from the juggler. I had no desire to talk to the crowd. There was a small crowd of 5 sightseers. It's a weird thing, but you can take the most intelligent people in the world, put them in their vacation duds, and hey presto, they look like morons. Why is that? I couldn't open it with my bare hands. The recent showers had made the levels rise a little, but at least the place didn't smell so much. What's a guy supposed to do with a sewer? Don't answer that. A weird little boat lay tied up. I guess they used it to get maintenance crews around. Either that or the Phantom of the Opera was somewhere near. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. On the boat was a winching machine. There was a handle in the boat that fed out chain with a hook on the end. Close up, I could see a faded inscription. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templar and something about innocence. The hook was held rigidly by the tightly wound chain. Okay, it's long jump time. Here goes. Do I look crazy or something? Hey, that's hollow. It was time for some brutal destruction. I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. Close up, I could see the plaster was thinner where I'd broken through, and behind it were some cogs and a lever. Here goes. Hey, cool. Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. Nothing hollow there. That sounded pretty solid. The hook was held rigidly by the tightly wound chain. Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. The hook was held rigidly by the tightly wound chain. Close up, I could see a faded inscription. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe. Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. If I wanted to get deeper into these catacombs, I was going to have to get onto that path. If the near edge hadn't crumbled away, I could have jumped it easily. Now, I wasn't so sure. That is not a good idea. The door mechanism was trashed. It would take a blacksmith or an engineer to do anything with that. There was a crack in the wall. Through it, I could see a glimmer of natural light.
In the beginning was the end.
An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness.
In the end will be a beginning.
An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report. The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. The millennium is almost upon us, and everything is in place for the rise of our new order. Almost. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is, as a corollary, hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say, our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sword of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Igram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lochmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results, not petty bickering, not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition. The new millennium will belong to us. The next time that we meet, it will be to become the princes of this world!
On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases. Non omnis moriar, and clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness. There was a large circle marked out on the floor with a stump in the middle. Around the circle I could see words inlaid into the stone. In the middle of the circle was a stump of stone, a shaft of daylight from the world above lancing down to touch it. I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top. The water seemed to belong to an underground river or something. It was way too deep to belong to the catacombs. No way was I going out there without a boat. I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top. The light above struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays, and each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the seal, I could read M-A-R-I-B, Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant. Nico, I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knights Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the broken sword, whatever that is.
And how does the assassin fit into all this?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Plantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how does he hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria, but they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria.
Then the Neo-Templars are ahead of us. Klausner beat me to it.
You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to Andre, anonymously.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. That's the tripod we borrowed from the museum. That's the gem that Pegram found in Lochmarn. There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces. The ninth scroll bears a phrase in Latin, "Through my teachings, you will be enlightened." There's a guy with a sword and a bull. Between them is a gem supported by a tripod. Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, Georges.